Hello, good morning, and welcome to Saturday Somm-Things with Sian. You might notice today's a little bit different. I'm dressed up. I'm super excited. We're calling this Run for the Rosés. It's an awesome reason to get out of bed today. Some $100 rosé. Also, it's Derby Day, if you hadn't noticed, which is why we are all dressed up in our finery. I love it. Thanks for the hat.
You're looking wonderful, Sian.
Thanks so much, Nick. So I've been joined today by Nick Weaver, who is a fine wine specialist with Moët Hennessy. So delighted to have you with us this morning. Derby Day, we were kind of talking about rosé is perfect anyway, but not everybody wants to drink bourbon, which some people consider that to be heathens. Other people think it's perfectly normal. I like both, but I usually start with rosé and then move into bourbon. We do have an awesome gift pack with Woodford Reserve Bourbon. Again, it's all set up for your Derby Day, so if you don't have any yet, we have the little mugs with it, we have the mixers, we have everything. It's a beautiful package. I'm going to see right here, it's got horses on it. I do need to tell
Gorgeous.
you, like, small fun fact, 2017, the horse that won the Grand National in the UK was trained by my little sister.
Oh, cool.
So only the second horse in all of Grand National history to be trained by a Scottish stable. And the stable
Very
was
cool.
Lucinda Russell, and my little sister Erin trained one for Arthur was his name. And he's since retired and is now making lots of little baby ponies, but he was really, really cool. Everybody in the village back home in Abernethy bet on the horse. Everybody made a bunch of money, and I think it should now be like an official holiday because I'm sure everybody got wasted that day. But
amazing.
speaking of getting wasted in a very dignified style,
This is classy drinking here.
it's very classy drinking.
Yes.
I have a friend in Chicago who had been out enjoying happy hour in the sunshine by the river, as you do, and she had come home, and we just got off work, and we're like, "What you been doing? Like, where were you?" She said, "Oh, I was having happy hour." I'm like, "Who were you with?" And she goes, "The angel who whispers." So I think it's really funny. I think of that every time I see the Whispering Angel.
Amazing.
But anyway, so catch us up and then get us going. You know a lot about rosés that saturated the market. Everybody is drinking it, and it's kind of considered like cheap-ish, everyday, not very
Sure.
complicated.
Cheap and cheerful is the reputation, right, of rosé. But in 2006, a man named Sacha Lachine, he actually set out to kind of change that image a bit in Provence by, creating wines that were world class, that really had that same winemaking pedigree as Bordeaux or Burgundy or Champagne, to get that worldwide reputation. And kind of along the way, he also saw a huge opportunity for dry rosés to be popular, to get a following in America, in the U.S. Back in 2006, I mean, as much as rosé we're drinking now, people weren't drinking dry rosé back then. I actually started in the industry about that time,
Right.
and rosé was white Zinfandel to me, and
Right.
I was stocking it at the Safeway. There was no dry rosé even in the the bigger stores. So anyway, after he really, Sasha's father had come over to America and popularized Bordeaux wines and really helped to get Americans to drink those styles. And so Sasha really followed in his footsteps in a very entrepreneurial way and brought the Whispering Angel overseas. And since that time, it has grown to become the top-selling rosé in America and also in Colorado here. So if you haven't tried it, it is absolutely delicious.
It is lovely. It's a great
Yeah.
go-to. I've consumed a few bottles in my time.
Yeah, and when the angels start whispering, you know that it's time to maybe
Go
go
home.
to bed, right?
Not joking. Cool. So we are not going to taste everything today because there are limits. We tasted the Palm and Whispering Angel a few weeks ago down in the basement, and that was cool. But then I had never tasted any of these other wines, so you brought them in, and now obviously
Yes.
we have all of them with the exception of this one, which is coming soon, next couple of days.
Yes, so if you came in today, we wouldn't have the Chateau d'Esclans Estate, but by, let's say, next weekend, we'll have it in stock here.
All right, cool. Let's drink.
For
Taste.
sure. Well, so, the lineup is, as you see, a bit robust. I mean, we really do have the greatest rosé portfolio in the world. And what's cool is there's something for every price point, right? So the Palm is kind of your gateway into the rosé category. Really fun, relaxed label. The Whispering Angel steps up in quality. There's a lot more roundness and creaminess to it. And then the Rock Angel, we get super serious, right? We actually see a little barrel fermentation with the Rock Angel and more gravel soils. And you'll see that kind of throughout the whole lineup. We go higher gravel soil content, which will reflect in the terroir of the wine, and then more barrel fermentation as opposed to stainless steel, which you see in the kind of younger, more ready to drink wines. So that it gets more serious from there. But before we get into the fabulous estate wines, I have a little surprise for you. I have poured you a little wine, blind,
Is
in
it
a black
rosé?
glass. Well, there is some mystery there. It's very interesting drinking out of when you can't see the wine. I always start to think of the fruits, right, that are reflected in the color of the wine. But when you can't see that, your other senses are engaged much more intensely. So, so why don't you give us a few tasting notes on this wine before we jump in, and really think about kind of the, the tertiary qualities, and what kind of price point and quality level.
See, it's kind of, I feel like because you said it's in a black glass and we're tasting rosé, it must not be rosé. But
It's
I
possible.
could be wrong.
You could be wrong.
Or this could be quite Zinfandel. You could be really messing with me.
It's an Aperol Spritz, actually.
Nah, it's definitely not that. Right, so it does have, I get like minerality. You're talking about like rocky and gravel. I definitely get that. And it's more earthy than fruity right now. And it tastes like really rich on the palate. It's weird looking at a rosé and then tasting this.
Absolutely.
You're messing with me. Right, if I had to guess, like just given by the mouthfeel on it, it's something that spent time in barrel. The acidity on it is like pretty crisp and refreshing, but it's still not overly fruity to me. Like it's more pomaceous.
Ooh.
It's like kind of appley peary.
Yeah.
The finish is still going, so that's kind of a quality indicator to me. So I don't know. It's if I had to guess, just because
You don't have to guess right
I don't
now.
have to guess right now.
No,
Okay.
I just want you to have the essential quality really, get a little memory of it before we jump into the other wines.
It does taste like Chardonnay, though. Just going to throw that out.
Nice, okay.
Okay, all right. So
I did throw in the name of the #1 ranked horse there, Essential Quality,
all right.
for the Derby. All right, let's
All
jump
right,
in.
So let's get into wines.
Cool. So we are starting with the 2018 Chateau d'Esclans flagship wine. This comes from a 5-acre parcel,
Okay.
so very small production, where we see higher elevations on the property. And just to kind of for distinction, we do some sourcing here on the younger wines, but we make all the wine on site, so
Okay.
no negotiate juice. And then this will be all the state moving forward,
Okay.
and then we go up in elevation, and like I said, higher gravel soils, and more time in barrel.
Okay. It's crisp. It's tart. It's very like tangerine satsuma to me. Maybe a little pink grapefruit.
Absolutely, the citrus really sings. You are going to get, between 6 and 8 months of batonnage on this wine. So I almost think of it of a really great rosé champagne sans bubbles, right? So you still get that texture and that toastiness, the brioche notes, things like that.
So-
Really tangy on the finish.
You mentioned batonnage. I always remember this when you're looking at learning winemaking terms, but baton as in stick. So batonnage is when they're literally taking a stick or a stainless steel kind of circle into the barrel with the wine. They stir it all around and it mixes up all those fine leaves and it adds a greater texture to the wine. And that's unusual, I think, for rosé in general.
Yes.
A lot of times rosé is just kind of bulk production, the juice strains off, stick in a tank, stick in a bottle, and put a label on it, and it's gone.
Absolutely. The whole business model had been, let's rush this out That's why you often see 2020 vintage rosé. You see like a year ago, current vintage essentially rosés, because they were really, the idea was rush out, sell. They're young, easy to drink, not ageable, etc. But we really brought those, higher end winemaking techniques to Provence, and we were really the first property to do that. So
roughly, like when you talk about barrel aging, how much does a barrel cost these days?
So it's a great question, actually.
Like,
sold barrels for a little while. We're talking about an affordable barrel, a 225 liter, which is what you see mostly. They're probably about 900 euros. Okay. So call that, over $1,000 for the barrel. And these are 600 liter demi-muid. They're larger barrels, right. So you don't get as much oak influence. We don't want to have an oaky rosé necessarily. Yeah. We want to extract these kind of oxidation, relax the fruit, give a little structure to the wine, add creaminess and roundness, but we don't want to over barrel the wines. Okay. But certainly, yes, that adds to kind of the quality cue, and obviously price as well. You get what you pay for. These are well made and produced.
It sounds like high-end, high-quality winemaking being applied to a kind of lower grade, everyday product, just adding a little seriousness to it. Yeah. So the rosé haters out there can be like, this is really special.
Absolutely. Yeah. These, as we move through the wines, you can tell me how they, resemble other wines and what pedigree you think they're at. So this is the Le Clan now, 2018 vintage as well. So we are seeing, we do hold these wines back. We let them mature both in barrel and in bottle before we release them. So they are much more serious and complex than your more youthful, cheerful rosé. So here's the Le Clan.
So I already feel in this one, if I were to compare it to a Burgundy, it has this stony minerality that I sometimes associate with Puligny Montrachet. It's still rosé, and it has this really kind of fun, dry finish to it. So it's almost something that if you hate rosé because it's fruity and it's sweet, this is a little bit more reminiscent of, dare I say, a red wine, just in how it finishes.
100%. These wines will totally blow your mind when you taste them. They're unlike anything on the market. There is toastiness to this wine. There is a smoky character. It is creamy. And that comes from a little bit of a malolactic fermentation, just like you would do with a Chardonnay, right? And that takes more time and care. So you're just getting so much pleasure out of these wines. They're incredible.
I don't want to rush you, but this is like kind of my favorite, and I can't wait to get into it. So the Garus.
Absolutely. Okay. So, a jump in price here, but I think I could tell from the Chateau d'Esclans to the Le Clan, just a huge jump in quality too. So let's do the Garus. These are essentially like single vineyards from the estate and old vines. So we were about 50-year-old vines with the Le Clan. Okay. Now we're going to go to 90 to 100-year-old Grenache vines that just produce the most intense fruit.
This is like spicy. Literally, it's like tickling my tongue. It's very alert, very alive type of wine.
Yeah, nervy, intensity. This beautiful almond paste on the nose.
Like marzipan-y?
Floral, marzipan. Cream.
You mentioned, so more Grenache in here, less Grenache, more Roll was the other grape you said?
Yeah, so Roll, Grenache and Roll are key components of all the wines. And that's kind of the house style. That's what we grow on our property mostly, is Grenache and Roll. You do see some Carignan and Cinsault, maybe some Syrah in the sourced wines. But as we move up the line, we see 50%, all the wines actually about 50-55% Grenache. Okay. And then we get a higher percentage of Roll actually as we move up the ladder. And Roll in French, Roll is the French name, and in Italy across the border it's called Vermentino. Okay. And so the style of these wines is actually to make a pink wine and make a white wine, and then we actually cool ferment the juice together. Yes.
Cool.
Because it's illegal in Provence to make white wine or red wine. You can only make pink wine.
Oh, really? I
So
didn't
we
know
actually
that.
have to combine the wines. Yep.
To make a
very
rosé,
interesting.
but there's no Provence red wines, and there's no Provence
Excuse
white
me.
wines.
In Côte de Provence,
Okay. All right.
AOP,
Okay.
in that specific region. There are other regions, Côte d'Aix, Bandol, Palette, Cassis. They do whites and reds, but not in the Côte de Provence. So, excuse me on that one.
All right.
Grand
So-
finale.
So I
Whew.
grand finale, like Grand National, like
So
Derby Day.
good.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna take.
Essential quality, for
Mm-hmm.
sure. It's going to be the winner today.
I'm gonna stick with Chardonnay from Burgundy.
Okay.
Um,
Final call. Quality level.
medium high.
Do you maybe have a sub AVA or a sub AOP that you have in mind?
I want to say Chassin Premier Cru 2018.
Okay. Let's reveal. Where would you put the price if it was such a wine?
$40.
Well,
Totally wrong.
I haven't. If I could find a Chasson Montrachet at Premier Cru at $40, I would buy 2 cases. So correct. This is Philippe Collim, Chasson
Oh, sweet.
Montrachet.
Yes.
2018. I think you even got the vintage right.
I did. Oh my God.
Oh, this it's the luck of the Derby.
And I didn't cheat. I swear to God.
Yes, she did not cheat.
I'm a
100%
horrible blind
had
taster.
this. So, $95 for this wine.
Ooh, okay.
Right, this is about a $100 wine.
All right.
So to put it in perspective, going through these wines that are in that same price range, how did you feel?
I'm feeling pretty special right
Yeah,
now.
for sure.
All right.
Different styles, but I think you can see how the quality and the intensity, the complexity are at the same level, or in sometimes even better and more exotic than even a Chasson Montrachet.
So good.
I'll put that
All
over
right.
here.
Well,
No,
we
don't have room for it.
All right, leave space. We'll drink it afterwards.
Cool.
So
Amazing.
Cheers. Thank you for joining us. All these wines will be on display at the front up by the registers. We, of course, have our rosé aisle, but we'll have these separated out so they're a little easier for you to grab. If you enjoyed the video, like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, follow us and all that stuff so you don't
Yeah.
miss out. And then next week, I think we're going to do some wines from Sicily, and Mott's will be back with us next week. But thank you so much for joining us, Nick. This was fun.
Thank you for having
Great way
me.
to start Derby weekend. Cheers.
Yes.
Place your bids.
Run for the
Bet big.
rosés.
Yeah.